1961 was a unique year. The year when Schrödinger died and the first Afro-American president of the USA was born. 1961 is the year when a human reached the space and hit the bottom of the common sense. It was 1961 when the Berlin Wall, the symbol of Cold War, was built. And now we're in Berlin to tell you the story of the Berlin Wall.
With the discussion about the Berlin Wall, we have to bring in a little bit of context. So, as you might already know, the Second World War, which lasted between 1939 to 1945, was a major conflict which two major forces were fighting. The Axis, which consisted of Germany, Japan, Italy, and other countries which were associated to them, and also the Allied forces, which were consisted of the most important ones: USA, UK, and Republic of China, France, even though it surrendered. So, as Hitler wanted to expand Germany even more than it was already, he began an advanced operation in order to occupy the Soviet Union. But the Soviet troops managed to counterattack the German troops and push the Nazis away. And this moment marked the decline of the Nazi Germany. After the failure of the Operation Barbarossa, Soviet troops began to gradually advance into the Eastern Front, eventually occupying the eastern part of Germany in 1945 after fierce battles. The German territory was shared between the USA, France, UK and the USSR after the ratification of the Potsdam Conference in 1945. Also, the capital city, Berlin, was also partitioned between the same powers, but the difference is that this partition lasted until 1990. The Soviets received the east part of the Berlin, while the other three powers received three even parts which comprised of West Berlin.
However, these arrangements did not include the German territories east of the other, as they were partitioned from the German mainland and split between Poland as compensation of the territories lost to the USSR in the east, as well as under direct administration of the Soviet Union. The Western Allies did accept these terms only as temporary, believing that the final peace terms would soon supersede. To one's dismay, this will never happen, and the Eastern German territories would remain forever partitioned. Moreover, the issue of war reparations would prove particularly decisive, as the Soviet Union would demand large sums of money to be paid by both East and West Germany. The Allies would agree to these terms only provided that the USSR would deliver foodstuffs for both East and West Germany. Though, after the USSR failed to deliver food to the West Germans, the Allies found themselves forced to feed the German population out of their own taxpayers' money. Industry was another bone of contention, as the Soviets seized all the factories in the east, while saying that the Western industry shall not be revived. Nevertheless, the Western Allies reindustrialized Germany in order to make it self-sufficient.
In 1945, occupation authorities let Germans create a lot of parties. But roughly a year after, most of Eastern parties were forced to merge with communist parties or dissolve.
In 1947, the British and American controlled territories were merged in what we call today Bisonia. Later, in 1948, the Marshall Plan was extended from the American-controlled territory to all Western-controlled territories. This would lay the foundation for the German Federal Republic.
3.
By 1950, more than 6 million people have fled from Soviet-controlled territories to West Germany. From all of these, more than 1.5 million were solely from East Germany.
In 1951, West Germany joined the European Coal and Steel Community.
In 1955, West Germany became a full member of NATO and as well gained full sovereignty over their international relations. Highly skilled workers, professionals and managers started fleeing to the west through Berlin.
Apart from refugee problem, there were some issues that threatened the peace and security of the whole world. Nikita Khrushchev, the leader of USSR, demanded from his Western partners negotiations on security in Europe. He demanded the creation of nuclear-free Germany that will act as a buffer zone between two superpowers. Nikita Khrushchev warned, "These powers cannot fail to realize that sooner or later the occupation regime in that city must be ended. It is necessary to go ahead with bringing the aggressive-minded imperialists to their senses and compelling them to reckon with the real situation. And would they balk, then we will take resolute measures. We will sign a peace treaty with the German Democratic Republic." When they met in Vienna in 1961, Khrushchev bullied Kennedy. "It is up to US to decide whether it will be war or peace." The official reason of building this wall was to prevent Western fascists to enter East Germany and to ruin the socialist state. But the real reason was to prevent mass migration from east to west. No one has the intention of building a wall. Walter Ulbricht, the leader of the GDR, made this remark during the conference on the 15th of June in 1961. 2 months later, the construction work on the wall began. And here we can make sure that authoritarian leaders cannot be trusted at all. But the reaction of the West was completely different. The West Berlin government usually referred to the wall as the wall of shame. The US President Kennedy, during his famous visit to Berlin in 1963, said the following: "Freedom has many difficulties and democracy is not perfect. But we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in, to prevent them from leaving us. I want to say, on behalf of my countrymen, who live many miles away on the other side of the Atlantic, who are far distant from you, that they take the greatest pride that they have been able to share with you, even from a distance, the story of the last 18 years. I know of no town, no city that has been besieged for 18 years that still lives with the vitality of the forces and the hope and determination of the city of West Berlin. While the war is the most obvious and vivid demonstration of the failures of the communist system, for all the world to see, we take no satisfaction in it, for it is, as your mayor has said, an offense not only against history, but an offense against humanity, separating families, dividing husbands and wives and brothers and sisters, and dividing and people who wish to be joined together." A wall is a hell of a lot better than a war. Another prominent speech was made by another US President, Ronald Reagan, in 1987. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. When Mikhail Gorbachev became the head of the Soviet Union in 1985, he initiated a set of reforms in order to improve economical state of the country. While commanding Gorbachev for the improvements, the President Reagan delivered a challenge in 1987 at the gates in West Berlin, delivering this speech. On the 9th of November 1989, the spokesperson of the German Communist Party announced that from that moment, citizens of GDR could cross the border freely. The next day, East and West Berliners came together to have a big party. But the reunification of East and West Germany took place officially only 1 year after this event.
Okay. One morning in June, some 20 years ago, I was born a rich man's son. I had everything that money could buy, but freedom I had none. I've been looking for freedom. I've been looking so long. I've been looking for freedom. Still the search goes on. I've been looking for freedom since I left my hometown.
Although the reunification of Germany took place more than 30 years ago, it still has a big impact on the political life of Germany. For example, according to the survey, those who live in the West are more satisfied with the way of living in Germany, and it also includes the way of democracy in Germany. Moreover, all those who live in the West are more optimistic about their future. All those who live in East have a more biased opinion towards some minority groups in Germany. No, wait.
Though after the USSR failed to deliver food to the West Germans, the Allies found themselves
Wait.